Welcome to the Foothills, a Colorado lifestyle and real estate podcast featuring mountain home real estate broker Robert Martin, who has over 25 years of experience assisting clients reach their goals and move forward. Tune in each week for a dynamic conversation with experts, Colorado adventurers, and residents that explores the ins, outs, and specific nuances of buying the perfect mountain home or selling your dream home in Evergreen, Conifer, Bailey, and surrounding areas to catch a glimpse into the Colorado lifestyle that's a part of you.
Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. We have a great guest, Cooper Eitel. Cooper, how's it going today?
Very good, Robert. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you bet. You bet. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Cooper, and I'm from Conifer, and I just graduated high school this spring, and I work around here in Conifer for a tree service, and for fun, I like to do stuff in the mountains.
You've lived here pretty much your whole life, haven't you? And enjoy, the lifestyle that we have here.
Yeah, it's great. We moved from Littleton to Conifer in 2011. So yeah, definitely been around the foothills a lot. So it's exciting, great place.
How's it feel to be out of high school?
It's very nice just for the freedom of it. There's a lot that is open for me now that hasn't been before. So just trying to utilize that while I can. So that part's been pretty cool.
For sure. What do the next year or two look like for you? What are you thinking that might be around the corner for you?
That's kind of what I've been trying to work on recently. Definitely, I want to do as many like outdoor things as I can. I'm trying to plan like some trips in the next year or so. College might be in there, not sure. Just really trying to figure out what I want to do before I make a leap like college or anything like that. But in the closer future, probably like more ultra running type things, work on 13ers more, just everything that's as close as it can be. So,
well, I've heard good things about people that take a gap year. Young people that take a gap year, sometimes it's more than 1 year. And I think that's real important. You can discover a lot about yourself, and some things maybe that you're not anticipating kind of show up. It's like, oh, that might be a good fit, for me moving forward. So you mentioned the 13ers, Cooper. You finished all 14ers this year, climbed all the 14ers. What was that like?
Yeah, so that was really cool. The 14ers definitely were my first like really big like hobby, I guess, in the outdoors that was more driven by like kind of my own interest in them. And I finished this summer with the Maroon Bells, and then that was a great ending to like the whole 58, and then that led me right into the CT after that. So
as you say, you just finished a through hike of the Colorado Trail, and did becoming an Eagle Scout lead you into long distance hiking, climbing, and backpacking, or what was it that really kind of lit your fire and climbing all the 14ers and finishing your through hike?
Yeah, so I would say that definitely Scouts gave me lots of like the skills and the baseline confidence to do stuff in the outdoors. But really, I worked with this woman at my tree service that I work for, and she really she was working on her own 14ers, and I just kind of was like, hey, I'll go out and do them again, or just start up again. And that really kind of lit that fire. And then the Eagle Scout I feel like the skills I learned from Scouts helped with that new path that I was taking into the 14ers.
Kind of complemented it. You mentioned something I think that's really, really important, and it happens to all of us. And as we get more seasoned in life, not having the confidence or the skill set sometimes holds you up from doing things. So I think that's real important that you at such a young age, 18 years old, having finished the Colorado Trail, that's quite an accomplishment. Why did you decide to do that?
So yeah, trying to figure out how or why to do this Colorado Trail. Like this summer, I was near Twin Lakes hiking two 13ers, Quail and Hope, kind of lesser known 13ers. But for that, you hike up to Hope Pass, and that's on part of the Collegiate West Loop. And that really, I was hiking up the trail, I was kind of like, oh, this is a very nice trail. It would be cool to hike the whole thing. And then I also had known a couple of people who had done the CT, and I kind of reached out to them and just said, hey, like, kind of what does it entail? And then that's really, it was pretty almost last minute-ish when deciding to do it. So yeah, it wasn't something that I'd like thought of for years and years. It was kind of,
Maybe it was just the next rung. You finished all your 14ers, and what's your next goal going to be? You know, what's your next accomplishment? Yeah, how busy was the trail, and was it less busy or busier in certain areas, or what was it like?
yeah. So the CT, the Colorado Trails season, really, most people start like June-ish, June, July. And that's when like the bulk of the people are out there. And so I started August 27th. So there wasn't as many people as I heard that there were in the earlier summer. So with that, like, I saw maybe one or two other through hikers a day going southbound or northbound. So not a ton of through hikers, but more people out just day hiking and doing like 14ers, or just like that part I mentioned in Twin Lakes area, the Collegiate Loop. There were lots of hikers hiking that loop. And once you dip into the San Juans more, you see less people for sure. But it's never really, the most I went without seeing anyone was about a day and a half. So not super long. You're generally running into people every now and again. So.
Gotcha. So you left at the end of August, and how long did the total trip take you, and how many miles total is the Colorado Trail?
Yeah, so the trail is 486 miles, and it took me 21 days. So I started the 27th of August and ended the 16th of September. So that's like an average of 23-ish miles a day, which was kind of right in my goal range, which was 20 to 25. So yeah, I was all around there.
Were there things that popped up that you weren't anticipating? I mean, obviously you had a good sense for what it was going to be like, talking to others and reading about it. I know that you have a lot of good knowledge about what to anticipate. Was there something that kind of caught you by surprise, or?
So I had a pretty good idea of what it would entail, just because like I've been in lots of the areas, at least up until the San Juans. So I kind of knew what the terrain would hold. I'd hiked parts of it, bits and pieces, but really kind of, I would say like the biggest thing that kind of caught me off guard was really just during like the first 5 days or so up to from Littleton to Breckenridge and Frisco area, was just realizing like how big of a trail it is. Because when you're on like days 2 and 3, you're feeling pretty good, but then you realize there's still like 400 more miles to go. So
that seems a little bit ominous, I would imagine. So what was that like, Cooper? What was that mental game like? I mean, I'm sure that, there were some thoughts in your mind like, oh boy, this is a long ways, and the weather may not have cooperated all the time and that sort of thing. And how do you sift through all of that and continue moving forward?
Yeah, mentally it was, the hardest part was trying to work through those, getting over like the distance of it kind of. That was one thing I definitely learned, was being able to wake up and just start walking and try not to think about like the next day or the next, just focus on like the closest miles that you have coming up and just go stream to stream, meal to meal, I guess morning to night, just breaking it up so you're not overwhelmed.
So kind of living in the moment each day, each minute, each hour. What would a day be like for you, Cooper? What time did you start to hike? And then did you hike pretty much all day until the sunset? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so one of my goals beginning the trip was I wasn't going to use like an alarm or anything like that, just to kind of go until I was tired and then sleep until I woke up and started then. But generally, I started around 7 to probably 7:45-ish. It got later as the trip went on, just since daylight, the sun came up a bit later. But after that, I'd hike, and the first part of the trip, I was taking like maybe a 20-30 minute lunch. But then later on through the trip, I wore a fanny pack, which was a great addition. And I would eat tuna for lunch, tuna packets. So I would just have those as I'm walking and just not stop unless I needed like water or something. But and then through the afternoon, I would generally arrive to the camp around anywhere from like 3 to 6. And then I'd just go straight to bed. I thought I was going to do some reading initially, but I realized I'd just go to sleep and I don't know, just make it simple. So,
Regenerate, huh?
mhm.
What was that like? Obviously, you had your cell phone with you and you had an inReach, would assume, just for safety purposes. So what did you feel that you were somewhat disconnected and maybe connected to what you were doing more so, or how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so I had my phone on mostly I had it on, but I had like airplane mode, do not disturb, battery saver. So it was mostly just for pictures. And the only time when I would take off or when I would open it up to signal was when I had like a good view of a town or something, when I could just make a call off or shoot some texts out. So generally, I had service every day of the trip, if like when I could see that view of a town. But yeah, I was other than that, like 5-10 minutes a day the phone was on, it was off. I didn't do like headphones or music or Netflix at night. Some people had that downloaded. So it was very, I guess, detoxing. There wasn't a lot out there.
Good way to put it. Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. Didn't even need to run the inReach a ton. I just would use it for texting in the morning or in the night if I didn't have service. That was another intention I had before the trip, to make it as technology free as possible. I just used like a booklet map instead of the app that people use. So yeah, it was really great for that.
And you felt like that with your book and with everything you've done, you felt pretty comfortable as far as navigating and getting through the trail and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the trail is very well marked with the little like silver or metal little mountain things that their logo on the trees, or also like they'll shave a little marking in a tree. So the trail is very well marked. If there's ever an intersection, it's often marked. And also you'll see like the amount of people out there. If you do have a question that might not be on the book, they're always willing to help often. So I never really felt like that was the main issue. So that part was pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, you prepared well. I would imagine that's quite important to make sure your trip is fulfilling and for everybody involved. So you've done a lot of climbing and hiking. Do you think are there parts of the trails that if somebody wanted to maybe just bite off, a section hike, and they're fairly new at this, that you might recommend that might be a good place to go? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so basically the entire trail is very user friendly, very well made, very well marked. But in terms of scenicness, the San Juans are definitely the place to go. If I had to re-hike a bit of it, I would do the sections from Lake City, Spring Creek Pass to Durango. That was a very cool area. You're up high above tree line a lot, which I really like, being above tree line, and you get to see a lot of cool things, lots of ups and downs. I've heard it referred to as like an alpine roller coaster. So you get to see a lot, and it's just always changing. So the San Juans are definitely a good place for that.
That's great. Well, like you said, all of it's very scenic, but maybe that part there just stuck out for you, obviously. And so how did you prepare, Cooper? I know it takes, some insight and reading and education. And overall, how did you prepare for the hike? What'd you do with your, your timing, your food drops, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so way in the beginning of like a couple months before I started the trip, I just to familiarize myself with the route, I just pulled up like a mapping app on my laptop, just plotted the route just to see everywhere it goes. And that was just like to get a rough outline in my head. And then moving from there, I checked out distances between places that you could resupply. And I ended up doing 3 total resupplies. I had my first in Frisco, and then my second near Monarch Pass on US 50, just to the west of Salida. And then my last resupply was in Silverton, and that one was shipped just in a box. My mom shipped that. And then I just hitchhiked into town and got the box and then went back out to the trail. So that was kind of, resupplies are kind of like your biggest constraint, I guess, if you're trying to do it quick or anything like that. And lots of people don't even plan out their food for resupplies. Like they'll just roll into town and hit like the general store or gas station and resupply that way. But I was able to, my mom helped me a lot with the resupplies. I had my meals, which was just oatmeal, tuna, granola, and some like trail mix and bars in there. So we had that all laid out, and that was pretty simple. But yeah, then otherwise for planning, I reached out to some friends for things like the bear bag, how to store your food for like the long duration trail. Lots of it just kind of happened on the fly too. I know it's not always the greatest thing, but it worked out in this case.
Well, I'm sure you have to improvise when you have to improvise. So you didn't cook any food at all. It was all just prepared and granola and different bars and different things. Well, the oatmeal, did you cook the oatmeal? Did you eat it dry, or how did you do that?
Yeah, I didn't bring a stove. I just cold soaked the oats.
Okay.
So as I was putting up my tent, just pour some water in. The same with the granola, pour water in there too, just so it's not as dry. But yeah, the stove is an addition I would make if I wanted to enjoy it more. It's just a bit extra weight, and also slows you down a titch in the morning, just if you're not the most efficient. But I mean, there are people who can just fly through breakfast with a stove.
But you think overall next time that you take a stove along just for a little bit more comfort and enjoyability, possibly?
Yeah, especially if I were to do the trail again, I would definitely want that. I don't know if I'm still not like, I would still go on a backpacking trip by myself without a stove. It's just if I had to do this specific trail again, I might bring a stove.
Gotcha. No, I hear you. So not that you intended to, but did you lose any weight, or were you able to maintain that, or how did that go for you?
It was hard kind of because on the way home, I ate and drank a lot. So I wasn't able to get a great reading here, but I lost about like 7-ish pounds. So I know there are people who lose a lot more too, or people who don't lose a lot, which is good nutrition too, maybe. But yeah, I was about 7.
Yeah. I don't know if it's something you probably should intend to do, huh? I mean, you want to keep yourself pretty fed and pretty energized, but was there anything that stuck out, any food that as you were getting towards the end, you started having visions of a pizza or a hamburger or shake?
Yeah, it was maybe like the first week I started seeing enchiladas. So that was
great.
I got picked up from the trailhead at the very end, and we went straight to the Mexican restaurant. So that was
Nice.
very exciting.
Oh, that's good. So all that time on your own, Cooper, you've got a lot of time to think and stuff. So there was some clarity there. You had opportunity to visit with yourself, I guess, about some things on your mind. I'm sure that was a good experience for you, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that part was definitely a plus. But oftentimes too, at least personally, I find it where I can't totally focus on the things that you might think you'd want to focus on when you're by yourself. I found myself a lot of the time just having songs stuck in my head just to pass the time. And I welcomed it because it was a way to pass the time. But during those other times, it was very, very cool to have time to think about issues or things that you want to work on in your own life. So that part was very cool.
Yeah, we all have that. And it's, it seems to be valuable to take some quiet time and, be grateful for what we have and to think about what our future might hold. And, even when you get to be seasoned like me, I still do that. And, each day I think it's important. So, but you just spend a lot of time with yourself, more so than most people probably ever will, not having any interaction with others. So did you run into any wild animals or have any of those experiences?
Because I was able to get into camp most nights, at least before 6, and I was up in the daylight, I didn't run into a ton of like crazy wildlife. I mean, a couple bull moose here and there, lots of deer, some elk, just like kind of the usual things that we see around here. And I think that's also probably because the trail is moderately trafficked, so there are people every day going through. So,
well, that's quite an accomplishment, Cooper. That's really awesome, especially at 18 years old, and to have the confidence to do it and step out, and also just to make the time in your life to do it. So kudos to you for doing that. And you said moving forward, you're going to maybe look at some long distance running, or is that what your future holds as far as being outdoors in Colorado?
Yeah, I'm open to anything really. I'm looking at even different sports like paddling or any of that. But running, I like the endurance type sports. I went on a run this morning and I could tell that my like high heart rate activities need some work after just walking for 21 days. So it's just a really cool world to be in, just the long distance like sports like that, because it's just it's really cool to challenge your body, I think, and then do it in a way where you don't get hurt and you can come out and want to do it again. So I just really like that.
Well, it's great. You got a bright future doing that. And whether you compete or just do it for your own satisfaction, you live in the perfect place to do that. It's just basically in your backyard. So is there anything else you'd like to add, Cooper, that we didn't talk about or that I didn't ask?
I guess really just one thing is anyone can really hike the CT. You don't even have to do the full thing in one push. There's people of there's every different type of person out there on the trail, just doing their own thing at their own pace, their own plan. It's really just it's so customizable. You can do anything you want off of it. So that's a great plus to the CT, and I would recommend it if people are interested.
That's a great way to put it. Kind of make it your own, whatever you want it to be, your experience, and customizing. I think that's a great word. Where do you think, Cooper, as we close here, the best place people could go if they want to learn more about doing a through hike or a section hike? What are some of the resources you used, or what would you recommend?
For the Colorado Trail, there's a website, the Colorado Trail Foundation.com or something, I don't know. And that's a great resource for info on the CT. But if you wanted just baseline through hiking, backpacking info, I mean, I don't know any precise source you could use, but definitely the internet.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the Colorado Trail website is definitely the best place for this trail. So
yeah, and like you said, if you know some people that have done that, or they can give you some information, that's probably a good source too. So, well, thanks, Cooper. I really appreciate your time. It was really fun, and the information was great. So, and I think you're an inspiration for lots of people, whether you're 18 years old or older like me, or younger, or if you don't even live in the area too, it's something to aspire to do. So I really appreciate your time today.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. Take care of yourself.
Have a good one.
To the Foothills, a Colorado lifestyle and real estate podcast. On the podcast, I interview real estate experts, Colorado adventurers, and residents who enjoy the serenity and lifestyle of living in our mountain communities. Tune in each week for a conversation that explores the ins and outs of buying the perfect mountain home or selling your dream home, and catch a glimpse into the Colorado lifestyle that's a part of you.